The hidden laboratory was silent after the discovery. The alien scientists had sealed the data, locked away the strange human DNA sequence that glowed like a secret flame. Yet silence did not mean peace. In the hearts of the researchers, a seed of fear had been planted. For days, they studied the sequence in secret. Every scan, every test revealed more mysteries. The code was not only complex, it was layered, like a puzzle made by a mind far older than theirs. It was not just hidden, it was protected. The deeper they looked, the more traps they found, strange barriers that stopped their machines from reading too far. "It resists us," whispered one of the scientists, staring at the flickering code. The elder, who had first noticed the anomaly, narrowed his glowing eyes. "It is not meant for us. It is meant for them. Them. The humans. Fragile creatures who walked the galaxy with no idea of the power locked in their cells. The researchers had been sent to prove that humans were ordinary, that they could be classified as harmless. But now, each new discovery pushed them toward a terrifying truth. Humans might not be harmless at all. Whispers in the council. The secret could not stay buried forever. Though the scientists worked in silence, rumors leaked out. Someone had spoken too much, or perhaps the machines themselves carried whispers across the void. Soon, fragments of the discovery reached the Galactic Council, the great chamber where hundreds of species debated law and survival. At first, the council laughed. To them, humans were reckless children, barely crawling into the stars. They were loud, emotional, unpredictable. But as the rumors spread, laughter turned to unease. "What if it is true?" asked one counselor with scales like armor. "What if the humans carry something inside them, something waiting to awaken?" Another counselor slammed his claw against the table. "Nonsense. If such a thing existed, the humans would have used it by now." But a third, older voice whispered, "Or perhaps they do not know." The chamber grew quiet. No one liked that idea. A weapon hidden in the blood of a species too ignorant to see it. A time bomb waiting to explode. The debate of fear. Meetings stretched for days. Some species demanded immediate action. "Exterminate them," hissed one counselor. "Do not wait for the weapon to awaken. End humanity now, while they are still weak." Others disagreed. "We have no proof," said another. "To destroy an entire species on rumor alone would make us monsters." But the suspicion had taken root. Every story about human survival, every tale of impossible endurance, now seemed like evidence. Hadn't humans survived on death worlds where no other species could live? Hadn't they endured wars that should have destroyed them? Hadn't they walked through fire and famine and still risen again? The whispers grew louder. Perhaps the code was real. Perhaps humans were not weak at all. The scientists in shadow. Meanwhile, in the hidden bunker, the alien scientists continued their secret work. They argued among themselves. "We must destroy the samples," one said. "If this code is activated, it could doom us all." Another shook his head. "No, if we destroy it, we learn nothing. We must understand it, control it, before the humans do." The elder stood apart, silent, watching the code glow on the console. His heart was heavy. He had studied many species, seen many secrets, but never had he seen something like this. An entire formula hidden in blood, waiting like a sleeping giant. He finally spoke. "We are standing at the edge of something vast. If we step forward, there is no return. But if we step back, the humans may one day step forward instead. And when they do, the galaxy will not be ready." His words silenced the others. They knew he was right. The question was no longer if humans carried a secret. The question was when it would awaken. The quiet watchers. The Galactic Council sent spies to Earth. Quiet ships floated in the dark skies, watching human cities, collecting samples, studying behavior. From above, they saw children playing, soldiers marching, workers struggling, lovers holding hands. To the spies, humans looked ordinary. Too ordinary. But sometimes, just sometimes, they saw things that could not be explained. A human lifting rubble to save another, with strength beyond reason. A wounded soldier surviving injuries that should have killed him. A mother running through fire to pull her child to safety, her body refusing to stop even when burned. Were these just accidents of nature? Or were they glimpses of the code, flickering awake for moments before falling silent again? The spies returned to the council with their reports. And the suspicion grew. The shadow of war. As weeks passed, the council began to split. Two factions formed. One side wanted extermination. End humanity now, before the weapon awakens. The other side wanted control. Study them, guide them, and perhaps use them as soldiers in our wars. But in every voice, one truth remained. No one believed humans were ordinary anymore. The elder scientist, back in his hidden lab, looked again at the vial of blood. He whispered the words that now haunted the galaxy. They were never weak. They were only sleeping. The hook for what comes next. Above Earth, stars glittered like watchful eyes. Humanity lived on, unaware of the debates, the fear, the suspicion gathering in the shadows. They laughed, they dreamed, they fought their small wars, never knowing that the galaxy was deciding their fate. The code inside them waited, patient and silent. And far away, entire empires held their breath, wondering, when the humans finally learn the truth of what they are, what will they become? The galaxy had begun to whisper about humans. Some called them fragile, others dangerous. But in the hidden laboratory, far beneath the ruined human city, the truth was becoming clearer with every test. The alien scientists had unlocked part of the strange sequence buried inside human DNA. It was not just code, it was a design, like blueprints for something greater. The elder scientist stood before the glowing console, his silver hands shaking slightly. He had seen many genomes before, but never one that felt alive. "This is no accident," he said softly. "This was written." The younger scientists leaned closer. On the screen, the DNA symbols rearranged, glowing like fireflies. They were not random letters of life. They were instructions, a hidden recipe inside every human cell. "What does it make?" one whispered. The elder's eyes glowed brighter. "A soldier. No, not just a soldier. Something more. Layers of mystery." The deeper they studied, the more strange it became. The code was locked behind layers, each one harder to read than the last. It was like a vault within a vault. Whenever the machines cracked one layer, another appeared, stronger and more complex. "It is protecting itself," said one scientist, frustration in his voice. "Or protecting us," replied another. Maybe it was never meant to be opened, but curiosity was stronger than fear. They could not stop now. The elder gave the order. "Continue." Hours turned to days. The team grew tired, their glowing eyes dim with exhaustion. But finally, the machines broke through the third layer. And what they saw made their hearts freeze. Symbols and patterns no alien had ever seen lit up across the console. Not words, not numbers, something greater. Instructions to reshape the human body. Muscles that could grow stronger with every movement. Bones that could heal when broken. Nerves that could rewire themselves for faster reaction. It was not evolution. It was engineering. The formula revealed. The scientists gave it a name, the Supersoldier formula. It was not just a hidden gene. It was a program, a switch waiting to be turned on. If activated, it could transform any human into something beyond imagination. A being that could heal wounds in seconds, adapt to poisons, endure battles that would kill others. One of the younger researchers stared at the glowing formula with horror. If this is true, then every human carries it. Every child, every soldier, every elder. All of them. The elder nodded slowly. Yes, the formula sleeps inside them all. The thought was terrifying. A galaxy already divided about humanity's place would never accept this truth. If the Council discovered it fully, they would not wait. They would see humans as a threat, a storm waiting to rise. The first temptation. One scientist could not resist. Against orders, he spoke what others were secretly thinking. "What if we test it?" The room went silent. "Impossible," another snapped. "It could kill the subject. Or worse, create something we cannot control." But the idea had already taken root. To see the formula awakened, to witness what it could do, was too great a temptation. Even the elder could not deny that part of him wanted to know. He turned away, voice heavy with warning. No test. Not yet. Knowledge must come before power. But in the younger scientist's eyes, a dangerous light burned. Curiosity could destroy them all. Signs among humans. Meanwhile, the spies on Earth sent back strange reports. Stories of humans doing the impossible. A miner buried alive for 6 days walked out breathing, his body unbroken. A soldier with a shattered leg stood and kept fighting as if nothing was wrong. A child fell from a great height, yet rose with only scratches. To most, these were miracles. But to the scientists who knew the truth, they were warnings. The formula was not fully asleep. Sometimes, in moments of great need, it flickered awake for a heartbeat. Just enough to save a life, just enough to remind the galaxy that humans were not normal. The Elder's fear. Late one cycle, the Elder stood alone in the chamber. He stared at the glowing sequence, the formula pulsing like a heartbeat. His hands tightened behind his back. He was not afraid of what the humans were now. He was afraid of what they could become. Why? He whispered into the silence. Why give them this? No answer came. Only the hum of the machines. He thought of the ancient myths again, the stories of creators who shaped life across the stars. Could it be true? Could humanity be their final design? A weapon hidden in plain sight? The Elder shivered. For the first time in centuries, he felt small. The council divides. News spread further. The council was now divided into two camps. One side demanded extermination. We cannot allow such a species to rise. The other wanted control. We must guide them before they guide themselves. But neither side saw humans as weak anymore. The suspicion had become certainty. The secret that won't stay silent. The Elder knew the truth could not be buried forever. One day, humans would discover the code themselves. One day, someone on Earth would unlock it. Maybe by accident, maybe on purpose. And when that happened, no council, no empire, no army would be able to stop what came next. He looked again at the vial of blood glowing under the blue light. Inside it, a storm was waiting. The hidden code, he whispered. It will not stay hidden forever. Above the silent ruins, the stars continued to shine. Humanity laughed, dreamed, and lived their fragile lives, unaware of the secret within them. But the galaxy was already holding its breath. And soon the hidden code would awaken. The hidden formula inside human DNA had been discovered, and the alien scientists had given it a name. The Supersoldier formula. It was the secret blueprint of something beyond natural life. The Elder scientist wanted caution. He warned his team again and again. Knowledge before action. If we unlock this too soon, we may unleash a storm we cannot control. But curiosity is a dangerous fire. And in the cold laboratory beneath the ruins, that fire was burning hotter each day. The forbidden idea. One young scientist could not stop thinking about the code. He lay awake in his chamber, his glowing eyes staring at the ceiling. The formula whispered to him from memory, like a voice calling from the shadows. What if they tested it? What if they saw it alive, not just symbols on a console? He told himself it was for knowledge, that they needed proof before the council decided the fate of humanity. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He wanted to see it. He wanted to be the first in the galaxy to witness the awakening of the hidden code. The next cycle, when the Elder left the chamber to report to the council, the young scientist gathered his allies. 2 others agreed to help, their own curiosity stronger than fear. The human prisoner. In a lower chamber of the facility, they kept a single human prisoner. He had been captured years ago, taken from a battlefield where he was left for dead. The council never knew about him. He was meant only for study, kept alive in silence, far from his people. The prisoner was older now, with scars across his body and eyes full of defiance. Even chained, he carried a strength that unsettled his captors. He never begged, never broke. He simply waited, as if he knew patience was his weapon. The young scientist approached the cell. The human looked up, his voice rough but steady. What now? More needles? More experiments? The scientist didn't answer. Instead, he stared at the human as if seeing him for the first time. This fragile creature carried the secret blueprint of a supersoldier. The thought made his hands tremble. The activation. In the central chamber, machines surrounded the prisoner. The young scientist explained to his allies what they would do. Unlock one fragment of the hidden code. Just enough to see what happened. It will not be the full formula, he said. Only a spark. Just enough to awaken it. His allies hesitated, fear in their voices. What if the spark becomes a fire? But it was too late to turn back. The machines hummed, beams of light scanning the prisoner's blood. Symbols danced across the air, rearranging, unlocking one layer of the hidden code. The chamber grew warm. The glass vials on the side glowed brighter, as if answering the call. First, nothing happened. The prisoner sat chained, breathing slowly, his eyes burning with anger. Then his body shuddered. His breath grew faster. The scars on his skin began to fade. Muscles tightened, bones reshaped. His eyes widened, glowing faintly like embers. The scientists gasped. "It works," whispered the young one. "The formula lives." The transformation. The prisoner's chains rattled as he pulled against them. Metal that once held him with ease began to bend. His wounds closed before their eyes. His heartbeat grew louder, stronger, echoing through the chamber like a drum of war. One of the scientists stepped back, fear in his voice. "We must stop this. Shut it down." The young scientist's voice was sharp. "No, we are witnessing history." The prisoner roared. With one final pull, the chains snapped like brittle glass. He stood tall, taller than before, his body radiating strength. The glow in his eyes was no longer faint. It was fire. The scientists trembled. The man who once looked fragile, broken, now looked like a weapon forged for battle. He looked down at his hands, flexing his fingers as if they were new to him. Then his gaze lifted to the aliens, and for the first time, fear was on their side. The first strike. The prisoner moved faster than their eyes could follow. A guard at the door flew across the chamber with a single strike. Machines shattered as he ripped free the cables that bound him. The scientists scrambled, shouting, but none could stop him. The young scientist felt both awe and terror. This was proof. The formula was real. The hidden code had awakened. But the elder's warning echoed in his mind. A storm we cannot control. And indeed, the storm had arrived. The elder returns. The doors burst open. The elder entered the chamber, his glowing eyes wide as he saw the destruction. The prisoner stood unchained, alive with power, his chest rising and falling like a predator ready to strike. "What have you done?" the elder roared. The young scientist could not speak. He only pointed at the human, his voice trembling. "It works." The elder's gaze hardened. "You fool. You have doomed us all." The awakening spreads. The prisoner did not attack. Not yet. Instead, he looked at the blood samples glowing on the side tables. He seemed to understand. Whatever they had awakened in him, it lived inside all his people. He whispered one word, his voice deep and certain. "Humanity." The scientists froze. For the first time, the aliens realized this was not just an experiment. This was a beginning. The elder's heart sank. He knew the truth. The galaxy would never be the same again. Above the ruined city, the stars continued to burn, silent witnesses to what had been unleashed below. A secret locked for ages had taken its first breath. And now, nothing could stop it from spreading. The first test had broken every law of caution. In the hidden laboratory beneath the ruins, the human prisoner had awakened. Chains shattered, wounds healed, eyes burned like fire. The supersoldier formula was no longer theory, it was alive. When the elder scientist saw the transformation, his heart turned cold. He had begged for patience, for knowledge before action. But his warnings had been ignored. And now the secret was awake, standing before them in the shape of a human who no longer looked fragile. He looked unstoppable. The prisoner escaped into the night, leaving broken machines and terrified scientists behind. His roar still echoed in their ears long after he was gone. Whispers become thunder. News of the event spread faster than light. The council was never meant to know, but rumors have a way of slipping through locked doors. Spies carried fragments of the truth across the galaxy. Soon, every major power was whispering the same words. The humans are not what they seem. At first, it was only fear among politicians. A quiet unease during council meetings. Nervous glances whenever the word human appeared on the agenda. But then came the reports. Witnesses spoke of a man who bent chains like paper, who broke alien guards with his bare hands, who vanished into the ruins like a ghost. The whispers grew louder. What if this was not just one man? What if every human carried this hidden weapon inside them? The council in panic. The Galactic Council gathered in its great chamber, a dome of shining glass filled with hundreds of alien leaders. The air was thick with fear. One counselor, her scaled armor glinting in the light, slammed her claw against the table. "We warned you. Humanity is a threat. This proves it." Another, with wings folded tight across his back, shook his head. "We do not know if it can spread. Perhaps it was only one man, only one accident." The elder scientist, summoned to testify, stood before them. His voice was steady but heavy. "It is not an accident. The formula lives in all of them. Every human carries it. Every soldier, every child. If awakened, they would rise as something greater than any army you can imagine." The chamber erupted in chaos. Voices shouted over one another, some demanding extermination, others urging control. "They must be destroyed before they awaken." "No, we must enslave them, guide them, use them." The council was divided, but on one thing they all agreed. Humanity could never again be seen as harmless. Fear among the stars. Across the galaxy, fear spread like fire. Empires that had once ignored Earth now watched it with paranoid eyes. Spy ships circled its orbit, cloaked and silent. Armies strengthened their borders. Merchants whispered warnings when human traders passed by their ports. For centuries, humans had been underestimated. They were seen as reckless, emotional, fragile. But now, every story of their survival looked different. Every war they had endured, every disaster they had overcome, it all looked like evidence. "Of course they survived," whispered one alien commander to his crew. "The code was always there, waiting." The human who knew. Meanwhile, the escaped prisoner hid in the shadows of the ruined city. His body was changed, his mind racing with new strength and fear. He did not understand what had happened to him. He only knew one thing. He was not the same man who had been captured. He remembered the glow of the machines, the pain of his body tearing and remaking itself. He remembered the moment his chains snapped and his wounds sealed shut. And in that moment, he understood something terrifying. This was not just his power. It was the power of his entire species. He whispered to himself, voice steady with new certainty. "They will fear us. All of them." The elder's dilemma. Back in the laboratory, the elder scientist was torn between duty and fear. He knew the council would demand action, either extermination or control. But in his heart, he felt something else, respect. For years, he had called humans reckless, fragile. Now he saw the truth. Fragile things break. Humans did not break. They endured. And now, with the formula alive, endurance was only the beginning. He whispered to his closest aide, "We may not be witnessing the end of humanity. We may be witnessing the beginning of something new." But his aide shivered. "And what if the galaxy is not ready for it?" The elder's eyes glowed brighter. "The galaxy will never be ready." The shadow of war. Armies began to prepare. Fleets moved silently toward Earth's borders. In secret halls, leaders spoke of preemptive strikes. Fear had become a weapon sharper than any blade. Yet, in the silence of Earth itself, humanity lived unaware. Children played. Workers built. Soldiers trained with ordinary weapons, never knowing that something extraordinary was written in their blood. But not for long, because the first man had awakened, and fear had already spread. The hook for what comes next. The galaxy trembled, torn between destroying humanity or using them. But the truth was no longer hidden. The formula had been discovered, tested, and proven. The humans were no longer just another species. They were a storm waiting to rise. For centuries, humans had looked up at the stars with wonder. They dreamed of adventure, of reaching new worlds, of proving themselves among alien civilizations. But they never knew that the greatest secret was not in the stars. It was inside them. The Supersoldier formula had been discovered in silence, tested in shadows, and feared in secret councils across the galaxy. But secrets do not stay hidden forever. And now whispers had reached Earth. The first rumors. It began as rumors. Strange reports leaked onto the networks. Stories of a man who had escaped from alien captivity. A soldier who bent steel chains with his bare hands and healed wounds that should have killed him. At first, people called it fantasy, a wild story for the desperate. But then came the evidence, blurry recordings, stolen transmissions, fragments of alien data smuggled back to Earth by traitors and spies. The images showed a human glowing with power, breaking free from machines designed to hold him. The world argued. Some called it fake. Others swore it was real. But in the quiet corners of research labs and military bases, scientists began to test blood samples. And the truth was undeniable. The code was there, hidden in every cell. The first awakenings started small. A war veteran who had lost the use of his legs stood and walked again. His body rebuilt itself stronger than before. A child with a failing heart suddenly recovered, running through the hospital halls as if nothing had ever been wrong. A firefighter trapped in a burning building carried 3 people to safety, his lungs untouched by smoke, his skin unburned. Each time, doctors and witnesses were shocked. Each time, the news spread faster. At first, people thought they were miracles. But the pattern was too clear, too precise. The code was no longer sleeping. Humanity was awakening. Fear and hope. The governments of Earth split quickly. Some wanted to keep it secret, fearing panic. Others wanted to weaponize it, dreaming of armies that could never die. But the people, the ordinary humans, reacted with both fear and hope. If the formula could heal the sick, protect the weak, and make the fragile strong, then maybe it was a gift. Yet everyone knew gifts could also be weapons. In the streets, protests began. Some demanded testing for all citizens. Others shouted that it was dangerous, unnatural. Families whispered to each other at night. Do we carry it too? Could it awaken in us? The alien reaction. Far above, the Galactic Council watched in horror. Reports came in daily, humans showing signs of the code, fragments of its power slipping into reality. One counselor slammed his clawed fist against the table. It has begun. The humans are awakening. Another hissed in fear. We must strike now before it spreads too far. But others shook their heads. It is too late. If one can awaken, all can. We cannot kill billions. The storm has already broken. The council was divided, but one truth united them. Humanity was no longer just another species. They were something else now, something that could not be ignored. The human who escaped. The escaped prisoner, the first awakened, had become a ghost story on Earth. He never returned to his people openly, but whispers of him traveled everywhere. Some said he hid among soldiers, training them. Others believed he had gone underground, waiting for the right moment. To the humans who had seen him, he was a symbol. Proof that they were more than what the galaxy believed. Proof that they carried something powerful inside, something unstoppable. To the aliens who hunted him, he was a warning. If one man could shatter chains and break armies, what would happen when thousands awakened? Or millions? The world changes. Science raced to understand the formula. Some governments tried to unlock it with machines, forcing the code awake. Some succeeded, creating soldiers with glowing eyes and bodies that could not be broken. Others failed, their subjects collapsing under the strain. On the streets, ordinary people feared what would happen next. Would their neighbor awaken? Would their child? Would the person beside them become something more than human, or less? The world teetered on the edge of chaos. Hope and fear walked hand in hand. The elder's words. Far away, in the hidden lab, the elder scientist recorded his final report. His voice was heavy with both sorrow and awe. The humans have learned the truth. We can no longer protect the galaxy from them, nor protect them from themselves. The code has awakened. The age of ignorance is over. Whatever they become, it will shape the stars themselves. We may be witnessing not the fall of humanity, but the rise of something greater. His words were never meant for Earth. But somehow, recordings of his voice reached human networks. And when people heard them, they knew. This was not myth. This was not rumor. This was real. The hook for what comes next. On Earth, the world held its breath. Some waited with hope. Some prepared for war. And in the stars, empires shifted nervously, their fleets armed and ready. But it was already too late. The secret was out. Humanity knew the truth now. The code was alive. And nothing in the galaxy could ever silence it again. The truth was out. Humanity now knew what had always slept inside them, the hidden code, the Supersoldier formula. At first, it was only whispers and rumors. But then the world saw proof. Soldiers who healed wounds in seconds. Children who lifted rubble twice their size. Ordinary people standing against disasters with strength beyond imagination. The awakening had begun, and nothing could stop it. The world reacts. On Earth, governments scrambled for control. Some nations tried to claim the awakened as weapons, forming secret armies. Others called them heroes, protectors of humanity. But no government could control what was happening. The formula did not ask for permission. It awoke where it wished, on the battlefield, in the hospital, in the middle of a burning city. Humans were changing everywhere, without warning. The streets filled with both celebration and fear. Crowds cheered when a man survived an explosion unharmed, carrying others to safety. But the same crowds panicked when another tore through walls with bare hands, his power too great to control. Families looked at their children differently, wondering if one day their eyes would glow. Soldiers trained harder, waiting for the moment their strength would awaken. Humanity was united in one truth. They were no longer just human. They were becoming something more. The galaxy watches. Far above Earth, the galaxy trembled. Fleets gathered at borders. Armies prepared weapons. The Galactic Council argued day and night, their voices echoing in panic. One counselor shouted, "It has begun! Soon they will rise against us all." Another tried to calm the chamber. "Not all humans will awaken. Perhaps it will remain rare." But the elder scientist stood among them, his voice steady. "You are wrong. The code is not rare. It lives in every one of them. And the more they fight, the more they suffer, the more it will awaken. You cannot stop it. You can only fear it." His words spread like fire. Across the stars, leaders knew the truth. Humanity was no longer a fragile species crawling into the galaxy. Humanity was a storm. The first battles. It did not take long for fear to turn into violence. An alien fleet, desperate to stop the awakening, launched a strike against Earth's outer colonies. They believed they would crush humanity easily, as they had crushed others before. But this time was different. On a barren world, human soldiers fought back. At first, they used ordinary weapons. Then, in the heat of battle, the code awoke. A wounded soldier stood tall as his wounds closed. Another ripped through armored machines with his bare hands. Their enemies watched in terror as men and women turned into something more than soldiers, something unstoppable. The aliens fled. The story spread. The legend of the Supersoldiers was no longer rumor. It was truth. The rise of a new identity. On Earth, humanity began to understand themselves in a new way. They were not weak. They were not fragile. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. Scientists and leaders came together. Instead of hiding the truth, they embraced it. Training centers were built. Not everyone awakened, but those who did were guided, protected, and taught control. They were not monsters. They were humanity's shield. For the first time in history, humans felt united not by country or border, but by destiny. The elders' warning. But not everyone celebrated. In the hidden chambers of the council, the elder scientist gave one final warning. "You call them super soldiers," he said, "but they are not soldiers. They are something more dangerous. They are survivors. and survivors cannot be controlled. The council listened in silence, their fear growing. They had tried to bury the secret. They had tried to stop it. But now the galaxy faced a truth it could not escape. Humanity had awakened, and the age of the supersoldiers had begun. The human voice. On Earth, the escaped prisoner, the first awakened, finally appeared. He stood before cameras, his voice strong, his presence undeniable. "I was taken," he said. "I was tested. And in their greed, they unlocked what was already ours. They called it a weapon. But it is not a weapon. It is who we are." He looked into the lens, his words reaching every home, every ship, every world. "We are human. We bleed, we fight, we endure. And now the galaxy fears us for what we carry inside. Let them fear. We will not be their slaves. We will not be their victims. We are ready." His speech spread across Earth and beyond. And with every word, humanity stood taller. The beginning of a new age. The galaxy trembled. Empires prepared for war. But humanity no longer cared. They had found their strength. They had seen what they could become. The supersoldier formula was no longer a secret in a lab. It was alive in the hearts of billions. And for the first time in history, the galaxy looked at Earth not as weak, not as fragile, but as something terrifying, something destined to rise. Above the blue planet, stars burned bright. The future was uncertain. War might come. Peace might break. But one truth was unshakable. The age of weakness was over. The age of humanity had begun. And the supersoldiers were already here.